politicize our concern. To them, we're all racist for flagging the ridiculous surge of Haitians who are undoubtedly changing Springfield, Ohio. It will never be the same. That is a fact. It will never be the same again. And yet the residents, they are crying out for help. Shouldn't their personal accounts hold the most weight here? It should. And that's why we're giving them a voice tonight.
It is so unsafe. I have men that cannot speak English in my front yard screaming at me, throwing mattresses in my front yard, throwing trash in my front yard. And I can't. Look at me, I weigh 95 pounds. I couldn't defend myself if I had to. And I understand that our city services are overwhelmed and understaffed. But who's protecting us? If we're protecting them, who's protecting me?
I'm taking my cart down the grocery aisle, and I have 3 immigrants strapped across the aisle. Seen me coming, would not budge, wouldn't even, and I said, excuse me. Maybe they didn't understand what I was saying, but I'm sure they understood that I was trying to get through that aisle. So I have no recourse now but to bust through it. I'm not afraid to do so.
They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them.
That to me sounds like a cry for help. But no, biased media coverage should mean more than those accounts from the actual people who live there in Springfield. These are tax-paying residents who are terrified to leave their homes. They all deserve better than that. Yet their situation, it continues to get worse. Here's the bottom line. The Biden-Harris regime is the enemy of the American people. How about that? They will happily sacrifice Americans to upend your way of life to achieve a political agenda at all costs, and it is for their benefit. What's happening in Springfield, Ohio could be and likely will be coming to a town near you. This is what will happen more and more if Kamala Harris becomes the next president. Okay, here to discuss is Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb and Chris Clem, former Chief Border Patrol Agent. Gentlemen, good to see you tonight, Sheriff. I'm going to start with you. We talked earlier today about this. You know, the big question I had for you was how in the world did they get there? 20,000 Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. Obviously, someone's behind it, the federal government, for an agenda here. Sheriff, when does it stop, though, if Kamala Harris becomes the next president? I don't think it does.
No, it does not stop, Bob, if Kamala Harris becomes the next president. As a matter of fact, they are achieving what they wanted to achieve. If you remember, Obama's slogan was to fundamentally transform America. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, their slogan was to reinvent America. I think the people of Springfield, Ohio, and so many other communities across this country will tell you that their communities have been reinvented. And they've reinvented it at the cost of the American people and the American taxpayer. And Bob, the worst part is we've paid for all of it with our hard-earned tax dollars. We are the ones that are funding all this. So you know when it changes? When we unelect these people and put America first people in, like Donald Trump, who's proven to us that he can fix the border issue.
Yeah, but it was a proven track record. They took tons of executive actions to undo what he did. Chief, I'm going to get to this, though. Kamala Harris, she's bragging about how much she's actually done for the Haitian community. Let's bring it up.
Starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
Chief, when I hear that, I think that the Haitian people are getting the message. We can go to the United States. We can take over a town if we want to, and the federal government is going to help us. So I predict it gets worse. What do you think?
Well, you look no further than the root cause right there than Kamala Harris and the White House. Speaking of the Haitian population, let me just remind your viewers and everybody, September 2021, the 16,000 plus people that caused all the chaos down there in Del Rio. You got the file footage up right now. Those were mainly Haitian nationals. Yuma, Arizona, December 2021, when I was the chief there, that's what caused the mayor to declare an emergency. We had the thousands come across there, defecating, urinating in fields. It became a public safety, food safety issue. They were storming the food banks. They still have problems stocking the shelves still to this day. So this is a problem that was invited to the America by this administration. And it's not just Springfield, Ohio. It's places like Flint, Michigan, where I've been, where people are tired of this. It's places in Pennsylvania. It's places like Chicago, Illinois, that are seeing this. And the sheriff and I see it firsthand in the state. We're right here on the front lines. We're dealing with it. And again, we have said for years, without border security, every town's a border town, every state's a border state, and it's playing out right before our eyes.
Sheriff, on top of the Haitians and all the migrants coming through, we have now this gang, this Venezuelan gang, Tren de Agua. They've been in Aurora, Colorado. I read an article recently. They are now in Miami, Chicago, New York City. They're in El Paso taking over there. We can see on the screen what they do. They walk around with semi-auto guns around apartment complexes. Do you think that they just keep going? My theory is they just creep further. They want more turf, right? They're a gang. So then it's only a matter of time before they truly are. And I don't mean to just scare people, before they're in the small towns everywhere.
Yeah, it is going to keep going, Bob, because we don't stop them. I mean, we do in local law enforcement, but our federal government is emboldening them. They're giving them money and gift cards and housing and all these other things that you see, like with the Haitians and now the Venezuelans, and they protect them, saying, we're not going to send you back. Of course they feel emboldened. They can do whatever they want, and they don't have to worry about anybody sending them back. And you know how I know it's going to get worse, Bob? Because the economy under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stinks. And as long as the economy stinks, when people get hungry, they do things like eat geese in the park, or they do other things like break into people's houses and steal food and whatever else they might have. That's what happens when, in human nature, when you push people. And they come from third world countries where they, no pun intended, those are dog eat dog worlds. So they're very familiar with this type of lifestyle.
Yeah, they certainly are. And back to Springfield or wherever else this is happening, I'm sure we just haven't found out about it yet in the mainstream. The local news knows. This was a cry for help from these people. And I want them to know this is not lost on me, that to go to a city hall meeting, to get up off the couch, put on clothes, get dressed up, speak in front of your town, get put on local television, get put on national television. It takes some guts, and it really takes something that is egregiously wrong. And that's what those people, they finally did it, Chief. That's how big of a problem this is.
Well, you know, I applaud them in that. And, you know, all politics is local. So all the poor decisions coming out of Washington, D.C. impact we, the people. So I commend and I advise anybody that is tired of this and tired of what's happening at our border and it's impacting their cities to get to their local town halls and get to their local communities and make sure they rally the people to say, hey, enough is enough. Well, look, America wants to be that beacon of hope for those that are truly persecuted and being tortured. But there's a right way and wrong way to do this. What is happening right now is nothing more than a betrayal by the federal government when it comes down to our border security. It is putting people's lives at stake. It's creating chaos where it doesn't belong. And we've got a country to save. So we got to get it right in November.
And they could take executive action if they wanted. Hey, just to me, the way it all looks, and now Biden did away with Trump's directive on the census. They're going to count all these people in a couple of years in the next census. You see how this all works. Before we go, Sheriff, I want to bring up a soundbite. Democrats talking about Trump again, not standing up for Americans, standing up for illegals.
And so he's defaulting at what's something that's very normal for him, racism and bigotry. Number two, it also shines a light on his ideology and the way he would govern. He is someone who I believe is a neo-fascist. Part of that ideology is picking groups of marginalized communities, minority groups, and blaming the issues of the country on those people. We've seen tyrants and dictators and the worst leaders in the history of humanity do similar things. And he has chosen Haitian Americans now to go after.
Sheriff, it wasn't even Trump. It was the residents of Springfield who are going through one of the worst situations that they ever have in their town here. Are they racist for going? Was she that lady we see on the screen? Was the black gentleman, was he racist?
No. Look, I listened to all their testimonies when you played them before. Nobody mentioned race when they did it. You had people from all different types of demographics. Look, luckily that was on Jim Acosta's show on CNN. Nobody's watching it anyway. But that's a perfect example of the Trump derangement syndrome that exists out there. Instead of focusing on the good policies like the border security, the economy, and all the other, no wars, all the great stuff that President Trump brought, they want to focus on things that don't exist, like racism and all these other things. The reality is they are the party of chaos, and they will continue to be the party of chaos until we take them out of power. And it comes down to like what Chief Clem said. This is we the people.
Well said. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Sheriff Mark Lamb, Chief Chris Clem, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Kamala Harris has done one televised interview and 0 press conferences since becoming the Democrats' nominee for president, given the